Hey everybody, welcome back. This is our next session called the Impact Perspective, in which we'll be taking a closer look at how some of these ODEs and public pieces of public digital infrastructure can create positive impact in our economy and society. And we have some fantastic speakers and a brilliant moderator for this session as well. So without further ado, I will introduce them and then hand it over to the moderator. So our speakers today are Shalini Chabra and Saras Agarwal. Shalini is a career banker who spent time at HDFC Bank, Citi, and Kotak. She's now pursuing her passion to create impact at scale with 3i Partners, her investment fund. She believes that banking is at the cusp of innovation and that India will be at the forefront of such innovations. And I completely agree. So thank you for joining us, Shalini. Next up, we have Saras from Bharat Inclusion Fund. So he's a principal there and leads firm investments across fintech and the inclusion space. He joined the firm with 8 years of experience in the venture capital and investing domain. Before this, he was an AVP at Venture East, a premier VC firm. And during his time there, he was involved in a full gamut of venture capital lifecycle from sourcing, evaluating, closing deals, and building value in portfolio companies. Saras has worked closely with entrepreneurs and early stage companies in the enterprise software, consumer internet, fintech, and retail space. And we're glad to have Saras join Shalini as a speaker. And the moderator who will be guiding them through this discussion is Anshul Saxena from MicroSave Consulting, who leads their efforts collaborating with over 50 startups from the Financial Inclusion Lab. Anshul brings a unique blend of hands-on experience, having worked with many impact and LMI-focused startups, and is the perfect fit to lead this. So over to you, Anshul, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ariman, and thank you to the speakers for being present here. And I'm so excited to have your thoughts and listening from you folks about the formal launch of account aggregator system that happened yesterday. And it's a dream come true for so many of us today, right? From fintechs, the startup fintech founders, to the ecosystem players, to impact investors such as you guys. And I think it's just the next biggest milestone up we had after the Aadhaar thing came into play. So without much further ado, uh, I would like to start off this session by asking you, Shalini, what is your perception about the account aggregator system as a whole and the open digital ecosystem, so to speak?
Thank you, Anshul. I think these are interesting times that we live in. I think the Indian economy and the banking system, or the financial economy, which is the better word for it, has been moving along a path which is fairly interesting over the last few years. It started with Aadhaar, it continued with UPI. Now we have eKYCs, we have e-sign, and we have DigiLocker, right? These 4 or 5 things have already changed quite a bit in terms of how banking, lending, saving products operate. COVID has, of course, helped a lot in overcoming the initial inertia that people have in terms of utilizing some of these. But the control over data, control over information that banks tend to have from their proprietary systems has been a limitation in democratizing the lending products. And that is what the account aggregators will really solve. Uh, One of the major reasons why the lending quality of a bank which has a significant share in the ecosystem uh, is just better is because they just have access to better quality information. They know what are the debits in an account, they know what are the credits in an account, they know the operating frequency, they know the risk of diversion of funds, they know what's the frequency with which money comes in. There is this whole access of information which they have, which cannot be replicated until now. And that's the beauty of this, that based on consent of customer, the same information across the board can be made available to anybody. This will enable both access and price, because so if you look at it in terms of the ecosystem itself. There are consumer lending or retail products, there are corporate products. The best of customers don't need anything. So let's that's not your target segment. It's at the bottom grid where access becomes an issue, where information is not available. So let's look at the farmer. And the farmer has his bank account, and we're not there yet, but let's say he has his bank account with a cooperative bank and he's opened it because there has been a push now when the zero balance Jan account has been opened. We are moving and will see most subsidies going to the farmer's own account. The beauty of the account aggregator platform will be the ability to leverage that information to provide access to the farmer at a reasonable price point. If we move on and we look at SMEs, right? Uh, Access to quality financials is an issue. But if we look at the fact that already today GST data is there, and the ability to evolve models to correctly estimate what is both the revenue and the profitability of that enterprise exists, the ability to leverage that exists. The ability to leverage some of that data to create a factoring ecosystem exists. So I'm very excited. I think it's going to be fabulous. I think financial services is one place where India is reasonably far ahead as far as the world economy is concerned. So I'm very, very excited about what's to come.
Very very glad to listen it from you, Shalini, because I mean, you guys know the market from the investment perspective so well, and I do feel that it is a leap. We have leaped forward in that sense, like you already mentioned. We have had PSD2 in Europe. We have had the similar system that was initiated in the US, but most of them are now struggling with the data privacy, issues. On the other hand, we in India have kind of opened up the data pipe, so to speak, and we're asking people to come and collaborate on this. So privacy, yes, is important, but it is second to providing somebody like an underbanked person with the right, facilities that they so much have, that they have deserved for such a long time, but have not been given because of our inability to collect the right kind of data from their end, right? So this will open up new avenues. Definitely a leap forward. Definitely a step in the right direction. Thank you so much for highlighting that for us. Saras, coming to you, from your perspective again, what's something that you see transforming further because of account aggregator system and the ODE, so to speak?
Sure. Thank you, Anshul, and pleasure to be here. No, definitely, what Shalini said, completely agree with, what she said. And definitely apart from, the accessibility and the affordability aspect that, we do believe that, NBFC ecosystem would help pave way for. The other aspect also, I believe, is the speed at which these services could be rendered to people, right? Particularly in terms of reduction of TAT, etc., right? And if we take, for example, what Shanli was mentioning, whether it's MSME or the farmer or an individual, right? We had, information sitting across different resource pool, right? I mean, so some money, if it was, say, lying in a bank account A versus B, some money had been put up in some other instrument, it was difficult to aggregate all of that information together at one place. And it was a lot of whole cumbersome process in terms of taking at that through the loan application, if someone is looking for a loan or for any matter, right? Definitely some of these things becomes much more easier as the NBFC A ecosystem picks up. And it would definitely have an impact around accessibility, affordability, and also in terms of improving the turnaround times and helping people avail financial services at the right time. So very interesting take. And I think regarding overall, if we look at the open digital sort of ecosystem in India, I think I'm proud to say that at least if we look globally, seem to be the case that we're leading, and we're setting prime examples for world to follow. Bunch of initiatives have sort of shown the the path to the world, and be it Aadhaar or the success of UPI, the ENAC and bunch of other initiatives that have come up. Definitely feel that NBFC AA is another one. There are a few more in the pipelines, right? NDHM, you have the Agri Stack, and bunch of other things. So definitely very interesting time, for India to become truly Atmanirbhar, or show light to the world, that yes, with limited resource pool as a developing nation, you can create this open digital infrastructure which can pave way for creation of lot many services, and help drive inclusion to the bottom of the pyramid.
Perfect, Saras. Thanks a lot for your ideas and your perspectives on this, and it's also encouraging. Saras, if I were to kind of act like a Santa Claus and ask you what allowances would you like to be carved out for this system to blossom, what would your top two or three items in your wish list bucket would be?
Sure. So see, I don't know allowance, but what? I mean, if we look at it, I think for any open digital ecosystem to thrive and survive, I think there are few parameters, I believe, and I think all of these examples are very clear to us. Basis what we ourselves as a country have shown, right? I mean, if you look at NPCI and UPI success, I think it has around 60-65 shareholders, right? And you have multiple uh, owners, which are private plus public sector banks plus cooperatives, and therefore you create those incentives for everybody to operate, and you don't make it an organization which is focused around helping one particular segment or one particular organization, be it government or private sector, right? So I think one of the core things around all of these things being designed is that it has to be really open, right? It has to create right sort of incentive structure for the community to come in, build and participate, not incentivize one or the other, right? And B, I think the affordability part, right? I think once you allow a large section of the community come in, you have to keep your cost as low as possible for people to experiment and try, right? I think those are there. And then I think third piece, of course, which we've tried in some occasions, will have to allow much more room for innovation. We'll have to allow for a lot more sandboxes to come up. We'll have to pave way for a lot many experiments to be done, and those are something that I'll expect from this ecosystem as well.
Great, thanks, Saras. Shall we coming to you? What would be your top three
Um, I
wishes?
think Saras has hit the nail on the head. I would like it to be fully interoperable and open access. I think ensuring that it is low cost to foster innovation and experimentation is critical. I think one thing which I don't see but I would love to see is the ability to extract masked data, so avoiding privacy concerns but taking bulk data to be able to build on some of the kind of information that exists is something that I would like to see at some point of time. The ability to pull out bulk data and the ability to merge it across banks to arrive at really what's the I mean, and here I speak with my background as a risk manager, right? I would love to know what's the true cost of risk, because to me that's critical, right? And how you cut and dice that is critical. When especially when you have new entrants in the market, and the new entrants are always the guys who are innovating, but really reaching out to spaces that others don't, for them to know and have access to information, not just an individual information, but bulk data to be able to use it and leverage it is important. I think these are going to be my asks. I would, I think, another thing that occurs to me is that I would like ideally to have as much information integrated onto the platform, payment information integrated onto the platform as is possible. Uh, that means one first part of it has also already been integrated, which is GST. The next one is in process, which is telecom. But really, multiple sources of payment information exist. A lot of information is there with Amazon, for example, using card issuers, so Visa and Master, using RuPay information, using UPI information, transactional information, LC payments, guarantees, etc., etc. All of them add a lot of value and a lot of quality. It's not easy to integrate. It's incredibly tough, but if we really have to make this data rich, to make Indian the depth of credit in the Indian economy is significantly higher than it is today, while maintaining reasonable quality. That's going to add an incredible amount of value.
Fa- Absolutely, very well articulated by you, Shalini. In fact, bill payments and all do contribute, and we are very thorough in paying our bills on time, which is something that, if integrated, would create a huge source of information about the riskiness of a credit worthy person, so to speak. So absolutely, bang on there. If I were to play the devil's advocate here, uh, and if we were to kind of analyze whether this would lead to a deeper digital divide or a new kind of digital divide from the point of view of people who still do not have any kind of digital presence, right? Or any transactions like cash transactions which do not have a digital presence yet. What would be what according to you are the top barriers that ODs might face or might create, so to speak, in this scenario?
Anshul, you're absolutely right that if digital access does not move at the same pace as innovations within this platform, then the digital divide will get created. But I think it is my personal belief that the digital divide will get reduced and not widened. If you look at across the board and you look at some of the innovations, just vernacular language access. And now people have apps doing vernacular language access. So Google Bolo works, right? We've all used Translate, right? Um, but now there is integration happening in using voice and the linguistic understanding of voice in vernacular languages is beginning, and some of that is going to move along. Uh, who would have imagined an Alexa even 5 years ago? And my younger daughter is 4.5. But the beauty with which she interacts with Alexa is mind-boggling. She will tell Alexa, "Read me a story," and she will say next, and she will say, "No, I want a fairy tale." And we can't imagine interacting in the same manner. When I was talking to somebody, and somebody's maid had got a smartphone for the first time, but would not type a message even though she had access to a vernacular language keyboard. And then somebody taught her how to send a voice message. And suddenly the communication level changed. Uh, we have various innovations which are happening. Many of them will get linked digitally to our identity in ways that we cannot imagine today. We will be able to use voice to verify. We will be able to use voice to share pins and confirm payments. We will be able to use, what's my balance on an app and understand what's happening in our accounts. I think pictographic access will change. We'll end up having pictographic passwords, so that language and English language knowledge is not a barrier to access. And the price point of both the phones will go down further. And as the older feature phones reach a level of life, the use of smartphones will become more and more integrated. Within societies, the kids who now have spent a year and a half at home, even within poorer families, and are doing this little bit of education using the smartphone of probably just the father who comes home and using it maybe over the weekend. But their level of familiarity with some of these and the training they will give to the older generation will change how we perceive this divide. And I think even this divide could exist, but I personally believe that there are innovations happening on the other side which will minimize this divide. The other part of the divide is, of course, access. So if you go to rural India, the quality of internet access is still not as good as it could be. And we will have solutions coming out which patch up the internet quality using various technologies which interoperable through space stations and ground stations working together to clear all dark patches, and there's enough effort going on out there, so we'll get there. It will take a bit of time. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's all going to work together, and it's going to come together beautifully. At least that's my personal belief.
Yeah, yeah. Fair point, Shalini, and hope, all your wishes come true. So, coming back to Saras, what would be your, uh, what do you think will be the barriers? I mean, what Shalini said are absolutely bullseye, but anything different that you perceive apart from these?
No, I think, see, the barriers, particularly what Shalini said, I think it would be very similar level of barriers, right? And, you know, comfort in using the technology and plus the data access, right? Uh, and these things will take care of itself. I mean, it would take time, but in the longer run, if one sees the benefits would far outweigh the cost, right? I do agree that meanwhile you will have that problem, and that happens with all technology, right? But there is a later adoption curve, right? When people realize that the benefits are far way in number, then the limitations, that adoption curve starts moving further up, right? And I do think that while we'll have that initial inertia, but definitely slowly and gradually adoption would improve, and other technologies will catch up, right? We've seen that for multiple other platforms, various other open digital ecosystem, and so do I believe with the ones that are being launched now. We will have a better acceptance of these solutions as we move forward.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the journey won't be easy though.
Yeah.
It'll be painful, and we'll have the road littered with failures too. But that's evolution, right? And that's the economy, and the failures are necessary to the success.
Yeah.
yeah. So, Saras, Shalini, if you were to, because you look at it from a more holistic perspective and that lens of um, supporting, startups in this sector, what, according to you, are the current crop of startups who are emerging right now because of the ODE systems, and what kind of problems are they chasing? What is their priority? And what do you think? Like, yes, there will be failures, but what do you think will be the thread that keeps them going and makes them successful?
Hmm. So see, I would not want to call out any specific name, but
Right.
if I take sort of broader examples of where the adoption curve is. I mean, if we look at predominantly OD is where we have some level of maturity, right? I mean, if you talk about the Aadhaar ecosystem, then we talk about your NPCI and bunch of these things, the BBPS and bunch of these things. I think we have reached a fairly maturity level curve in terms of the acceptance and adoption, right? There are of course the newer ones, that we're talking about, say the recent launch of NBFCA, etc. There are of course certain new things in the NDHM again, and then there are of course certain new things in the pipeline, right? The agri stack, etc. I think drone stack also we launched, but I think it will see its adoption curve as we move ahead. uh, and broadly, what we've seen, the players typically, I mean, as how the ODs would operate, everybody's trying to build on top of it, right? I mean, and then we see the wave of startup which are actually trying to improve the affordability and accessibility aspect. And when I say affordability, and particularly with say something like a UPI and Aadhaar and ENAC, what we saw was saturation of a lot of financial product. If I take that example, right? And essentially we saw a lot of companies, it became possible for them to work with smaller size financial product, because you could now reduce your operating cost, right? I mean, earlier, if your cost of onboarding a customer, where you had to go physically to the ground, do that verification, you'll have to go and collect that money by yourself, or you do a physical lac, right? You try to move that online, and you try to use this open digital ecosystem and built on top of it, right? A lot more sort of, it opened up a lot of newer markets and newer customer segments for companies and startups and banks to go after that customer base, right? So there is that crop we saw. Increasingly, we're also seeing certain startups which are moving towards analytics and some of these domain, fraud analytics, etc., wherein the idea really is to ensure that how do you, in an anonymized fashion, how do you make sense of this data, which could further help organizations or institutions to create products which are more relevant for this user base, right? Of course, fraud prevention is another important area, because I think the aspect around technology adoption, the more you minimize the fraud, the better adoption of some of these technologies would improve, right? So there are these areas that we see, and then of course there are a lot of people who are trying to do very very different and very novel ideas, right? Which one could have never imagined without some of these open digital ecosystem that as a country we've built, right? Because it wasn't possible for one private organization to build it, right? And with this, we have actually provided a level playing field for people to sort of innovate on top of some of the rails that we have laid down, in terms of the digital ecosystem in our country. So yeah, those are the sort of things that predominantly, at least I'm seeing. Happy to learn what Shalini, has seen.
Sure, Shalini, over to you.
I think bang on, Saras. I mean, I think we will see innovations come through in unexpected ways. I think it's really early days. I mean, it's launched yesterday, right? So we're going to figure out how and where innovations come from. But we're going to see innovations come across many different aspects. Analytics is one thing that Saras already mentioned. Data privacy, money laundering, those are going to be there. Obviously, there will be innovations around credit. I think we will see innovations also around creation of savings products, wealth management products, integration of some of those into personal finance products. We'll see integrations into insurance, health insurance, micro insurance. We'll see as we move along and the health stack gets launched, the financial services and the health stack interacting with each other to provide better pricing on health and term insurance products. So we're going to see an evolution of the ecosystem. There will be core products. I think the way I see it is core products will be lending. They will be savings based and investment products. They will be transactional products, which is basically your savings accounts, current accounts, movement of money, the whole, cash flow movement. And they will be, these four will form the core. And then there will be a circle of all the supportive products around it, which will be money laundering, cash flow, Benami, um, property record transactions, taxation, all of it will integrate. It will move towards, making sure that costs of transactions and opportunity to manage your financial life improves over a period of time. And there will be then this whole sector of learning, teaching, money management that will pick up. So it's going to be a journey, but it's going to be an interesting one. And we will only see which ones are the big ones going forward. But I think the low hanging fruit is certainly going to be the lending space, the companies geared to solving this specific issue. So the analytics, the money laundering, and financial movement of money. That's going to be the first up and off the ground from a sectoral perspective. Which companies? I mean, I hope we'll see a few that we haven't heard of yet.
True that. Yeah, and absolutely, what you also alluded to was a lot of social inequalities that will be overcome, especially gender inclusivity. That will be one wide-reaching area that will be impacted, because many women who work don't get a digital footprint of what they are doing. But with this system coming in place, you might see a lot of social inequality getting mitigated. So I think I'm looking forward to that as well, because some of our startups are really working towards women-centric customer base, and that is something that we as a lab also strive to achieve with with support of people like you. Absolutely, thanks a lot for that. And just before I wrap it up, for the audience here, Shalini, to start off with you, what would be your one or two tips to encourage them to keep keep looking at this and maybe developing solutions on this transformationally foundational architecture that we have now gotten in place.
I think my one guidance would be that this is really going has the potential to blow up how our lending economy and our saving economy works. And there are going to be a whole new set of players out here. They will do many different things. Figure out where your strengths are, play your strengths, and just get at and evolve solutions, and you will you have a you couldn't be in a better place to innovate today, especially as far as this ecosystem is concerned. I mean, it's just a fabulous place, and it's ground zero, so everyone is equal. There is no advantage to anyone who is large already.
So glad it's coming from somebody who's been in the Silicon Valley, who's seen the innovations out there. Thanks a lot for that, for those encouraging words, Shalini. Saras, your departing few words, if you will, for the audience out here.
No, of course. I think I think there are tremendous opportunities, and I think lot many newer things would come up, which we have not seen or we have never imagined, right? I think uh, what some of these technologies do is they have done half your work, right? And then now you need to think about what do I do on top of this? And we would be blown away with what as a country we can come up with, right? I mean, if I take for example, I mean, where do we see Paytm, sorry, a phone pay or a Google Pay exist, right? I mean, we could have never thought that. Now we take it for granted because we use it actively now, but that had been possible because of the power of UPI, right? And similarly, some of the newer things that we'll see would just blow away our mind in terms of what as an ecosystem we can achieve. So yeah, I think we have a great entrepreneurial ecosystem, and we will see lot many newer kind of companies. Honestly, I don't know what shape and form that would look like. I would love to sort of meet the entrepreneurs who are building something very different and thinking of very different kind of products, and of course, I do believe that there's a lot more potential that some of these platform would help us sort of achieve as a country.
Thank you so much, both of you, for this wonderful, exuberance that you have shown forth. And we really hope that your whatever you're thinking, whatever you're dreaming of, is brought to fruition by our startups and the new ecosystem that's going to be formed. Thanks. With that, I'll ask Ariman to wrap this session up. Thank you, Ariman.
Thank you so much, Anshul. Thank you, Saras and Shalini. Really appreciate it. I also hope everything comes to pass. And audience, please can you show appreciation for our three fantastic speakers and the moderator. Thank you so much once again, guys. We'll be back in just 2 minutes with the next talk, which is a breakdown of the Flux FIU connector module, which is something you definitely don't want to miss if you are an engineer or interested in building solutions using all of this cool new tech we've been discussing. So we'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you once again to Anshul, Saras, and Shalini, and see you on the other side.
Thank you.
Anshul.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Ariman.
all.
Bye. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.